Alright mates, how's it going? In today's video, chapter 18 of Illidan by William King. Illidan and his demon hunters are off to Nathreza, so let's go! Vandal followed Illidan through the gateway without hesitation. The feeling of excitement in the air was immediately replaced with the feeling that they should all shut the hell up and hide as soon as possible. So Vandal crouched down alongside his leader. He could sense demons in the distance, buttloads of them. The planet itself was weird looking. Huge islands of rock drifted across the sky like clouds. Green light burned every nook and cranny. As Vandal looked over at the betrayer, he could see a savage smile of anticipation on his face. And Vandal knew that over the next few hours, each and every demon hunter here would find out whether these gifts that Illidan had granted them would be enough to keep them alive. He sure hoped so, although there was some small lingering feeling deep within that yearned to serve the forces of Sargeras. Illidan's nostrils then flared, as if he could smell Vandal's weakness, and he growled, which was a bit rude. He will fail. He has always failed. He cannot oppose the will of Sargeras. Nothing can. Vandal took a deep breath and tried to empty his mind, but it didn't really work. The magical energy surging around him was making him feel a bit bloodlusty. Maybe he could draw upon the energies and unleash some kind of volcanic destruction upon the demons of this world. Slay them and take their essence. Feed on them. That would be nice. Yes, that would make you strong enough to challenge even Illidan himself. But Vandal decided it was probably better to ignore the mad urges and whispers. He needed to keep focused. He needed to be ready. Meanwhile, Illidan continued to study his surroundings, or more specifically, the buttload of demons in the distance. Their numbers dwarfed those of his forces, but it didn't matter. It was magic that was going to decide this battle. He too was filled with the temptation to draw upon the fell energy that swirled all around him, but he was pretty sure he could resist it. However, the wound that Arthas had given him seemed to be tingling a little bit, as if some small part of the Lich King's blade Frostmourne was still lodged in there somewhere. It was a reminder of the betrayer's previous defeats, but this wasn't the time to be thinking about crap like that. Sensing the nervousness of his troops, Illidan's smile became a snarl. Now was the ultimate test. If this force failed him, he would die, and all of his millennia's worth of planning would be worth jack shit. He wasn't going to let that happen. Expanding his awareness, Illidan could sense that the approaching army of demons was almost upon them, and there really were a lot of them. Scores of dreadlords, each accompanied by hundreds of fellhounds and infernals and all sorts of other things. But from the demons' perspective, as they arrived and came to a halt on the plain below, Illidan was on his own. They couldn't see all the demon hunters because they were concealed with powerful magic, and the greatest of dreadlords just sort of pointed and laughed at the betrayer. They'd mobilised an army to confront this one bloke. Oh, how they'll all laugh about this at the pub later. However, Illidan flexed his wings and glared down on his enemies, mirroring their contempt, and they didn't like that at all. Silence then fell across the ranks of the huge army, and as you can imagine, things felt pretty tense. Back to Vandal again, and he was pretty glad that he was invisible at the moment, because things felt pretty tense. Join them, and be rewarded as no soul in the history of the cosmos has ever been rewarded. The temptation was strong. It would be the simplest of actions for Vandal to plunge his daggers into Illidan's back. Slay him. Slay the betrayer, and become a dark god. The huge Nathreza army then began to advance upslope, and the temptation within Vandal rose even higher. If he slaughtered Illidan, he would be welcomed by his demonic kindred. He could put his mortality behind him, bury all traces of guilt about failing his family, transcend what he was and become a conqueror. But no, sod that. To give in to this voice of temptation would be to forswear his quest for vengeance and betray his dead wife and child. He didn't want to kill Illidan. He wanted to kill the things that made Illidan what he was. For all the guy's douchiness, Illidan was the only being who really grasped what they fought, and was willing to do whatever it took to end the threat. Sure, maybe he was mental, maybe he will fail, but Illidan was the only option. Now! As one, the demon hunters emerged and raced down slope to meet their prey, and for a second, the army of the Nathrezim hesitated. Not because they were scared, quite the opposite. They still couldn't really understand why such a small force was standing against them. Some of the dreadlords even started to laugh again, but that soon changed. The two armies collided, and the demon hunters did what their name suggests. Vandal himself exploded a fellhound, disemboweled two Moarg servitors, and then struggled for a bit against a dreadlord before stabbing its eyes out and hacking it to pieces. And if you feel like that all sounds a bit violent and nasty, just know that Vandal doesn't give a shit about your feelings. He bloody loved every second of it. The only thing he regretted about hacking the dreadlord to pieces was how long it took. as he could have been spending that time carving other demons up like a Christmas turkey, or goose, or nut roast for the vegetarians. Vandal had a quick look-see around the battlefield. Siana was doing pretty well for herself. Needle was sat atop a fallen Felguard, humming as he casually stuck sharp objects into the demon's corpse for no apparent reason. Ilaricio was chasing a Fellhound around a rock and having a whale of a time. It wasn't long before there were only a few Dreadlords left, and they looked absolutely kerfuffled. This battle had not gone the way they'd expected it to. Illidan then landed behind the remaining Dreadlords, but didn't do anything. He just watched. And the Demon Hunters all stopped what they were doing, looked at him, and then looked at the Dreadlords. And all those Dreadlords could do was crap themselves as a tide of fighters surged forward and engulfed them. And then it was over. Any doubts Illidan had before this battle were gone. His force had far exceeded his expectations, but time was of the essence. As soon as the Burning Legion realised what had happened here, they would react accordingly. And no matter how amazing the Demon Hunters are, they could still be overcome by enough enemies. So Illidan gave the signal to advance. They moved quickly through the Nathrezine city, overwhelming any enemies they encountered. Illidan really wanted to fight as well, but opening the portal to get here had drained a great deal of his power, and he was reserving anything he had left just in case an unexpected threat emerged. Soon enough, they arrived at a great tower housing the archive of the Dreadlords, a place containing countless secrets. However, a wall of stone blocked the entrance. Blast it! So the Demon Hunters raised their hands and sent hundreds of bolts of fell flame into the barrier, but it didn't achieve anything. Concentrate on one area. So they did that, and it worked. Illidan then entered and glanced down the long ramp leading to the depths below. He was close now. So very close. And we're leaving it there! I kind of love how easy that battle was for them, especially after half the video is just them going, oh, I don't know about this. The next chapter continues from where we're leaving it, so once again, don't worry about it jumping away to another POV character for no reason or something. As usual, link in the description if you're interested in buying this book. Also, there's links to my Discord server and my Patreon page too. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. And all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!